Can you put your boat, your artwork, your horses, your Mercedes inside of your private placement life insurance? No, you can't. That's a violation of investor control, and we get asked quite a bit about that when clients are considering private placement life insurance. Investor control is one of the two main rules the government has for making private placement compliant, so that clients can get the tax benefits of life insurance inside of PPLI. The other rule being around diversification of investments. So for investor control, the code says that the insured and the owner of the policy can't have control over the investments that are inside of a life insurance policy. And there isn't a lot of guidance on that up until 2015 in the Weber Tax Court decision, which laid out a few parameters around investment control. Clients cannot have a pre-plan of what's going to go into a policy, and they can't control, enjoy assets that are in the policy, or be able to make decisions around those assets. For instance, being on the board of a company whose stock is in the policy. So clients say, well, what is it that I can do? Well, you can meet with your investment advisor quarterly and make decisions about the kinds of things that can go into a policy. So for instance, your investment philosophy, your tolerance. Say, we aren't into certain vice stocks or investments. We aren't into, say, vaping. Or, we want to do more things for the environment. But you can't list specifically the investments that you want to go into a policy. So then clients say, well, what does that look like, for giving some idea or direction of the types of investments? Well, here it becomes a little bit like the old Supreme Court case about pornography. You know it when you see it, is what the Supreme Court Justice said at the time. And that's a little bit about investor control, what that might be. So for instance, can you give your client, or can you give your investment manager a list of maybe 50 investments and say, choose from these? Well, that's probably not a good idea. Well, how about if you gave your investment manager a list of 300 investments and said, choose from those? Well, that might be okay. But you certainly don't want to be the person that gets caught up in an investor control situation by the IRS. Previously, there was very little chance that someone might be audited with a private placement policy, and that audit usually occurred at death, which is an unfortunate time to learn for your heirs that the policy that you had provided no tax benefits whatsoever. But now with the IRS hiring more auditors, it's more and more likely that if you own a private placement insurance policy, they're going to check for investor control. And that could be very invasive. I sometimes equate it to, when people say they don't live in New York, and the New York State tax officials say maybe they do, and they get a copy of your building key code card, for entry into a building. So looking at someone's emails and how they communicate to their investment advisor for private placement could be a reality. So for investor control, if you're someone that absolutely has to have some control over the investments that are in your policy, it isn't for you. But if you can rely upon a discretionary money manager making those investment decisions, then private placement is something you should consider. At Life Insurance Strategies Group, we don't sell products. We're fee-based consultants who help our clients make decisions about complex life insurance transactions. And this includes considerations for private placement life insurance and private placement variable annuities. If we can be of help, reach out to us today at lifeinsurancestrategiesgroup.com.